Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to AFU United. This is very disappointing, AFU United Uncut. This isn't how I want to be doing these shows, but here we are. Hope you're all doing all right. Make sure to like the video, make sure to comment and share and all that jazz. We're going to be talking, of course, about today's result. Embarrassing, and questions need to be asked now, and we're asking them tonight. Is this the end? Is this time up for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I'll see you on the end of the intro.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Yes, everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to AFU United Uncut. I'm very, very unhappy about what's going on. I'm told there's an issue with my mic. I believe it's the new headphones. I'll fix that in a minute. First of all, what we all drinking, and James, talk about something while I fix my mic.
I'm drinking Diet Coke because alcohol would tip me over the edge. But yeah, Callum, what are you drinking? I don't want to talk.
I'm having water. It's been a rough weekend, so I'm trying to detox at the moment because I'm dying. So, cheers.
Ben, take over. Come on.
What's happening?
Karthik sounded like he was recording from a big metal shed. So you're.
I've decided to go with no headphones. So.
You still sound like a robot trying to find your way through the mud. Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. Right, someone else talk.
Vader's joined the bloody call and all. What's happened down there?
Sorry?
You're like Darth Vader. What's going on? It's not Halloween yet, mate.
No, I was prepping actually. I was practicing before Halloween does come up. Now listen, my other PC's absolutely screwed at the minute, and I can't reboot or anything. So I've had to jump on here. I look even shitter, I sound even shitter, and I've put my hood up. So apologies.
Well, nice. Well, sorry guys. I just let you know. I know James is asking people what you're drinking. I'm on the good water because I've got to drive back from the studio later. So I apologise that I'm not drinking. Well, I wish this was pure vodka. I've got to be honest.
I was going to say, we probably all should be drinking. I've got a nice mug of tea, Spider-Man themed. Spider-Man trailer coming out tomorrow, maybe. Bit of help for me.
I'm on milk and chocolate. Rock and roll, hey? Yeah, I know, yeah.
Is that the same as chocolate milk?
No, milk and chocolate.
Literally, yeah, literally.
I mean, I feel like I'm teaching English right now.
Everyone seems to.
It looks like you're living the dream.
I think your mic still sounds shit. Can you go back to your computer?
Yeah, fine. Whatever. We'll go with like. Right.
Sorry.
By the way, I wrote a story today about Mussolini's great grandson playing for Lazio, and it's not the worst thing I've seen today.
I can imagine. Even I haven't got my headphones today. It's mad, isn't it? Where do we start tonight, boys? We had the reaction show earlier, and we spoke a lot about the game. I suppose what happened during the 90, what Mark, you also spoke about what the reaction could be afterwards. We want to make this show quite centric around the discussion of Ole, I think, tonight. I mean, I said this earlier on in the group chat. I don't necessarily believe you have to be an Ole inner or an Ole outer to want what's best for the football club. I also don't believe that a social hashtag should determine what, so to speak, culture you're in right now for the way that the club should move forward. Because I'm certainly not an Ole outer, and for every day that he's still the manager of Manchester United, I'm going to support that team and want us to win football matches and want the manager to succeed. However, I am also of the headspace that you can't lose like that at home to Liverpool and be on the run that you're currently on and get away with it. So I think it's a very different landscape tonight as we sit here than before the Atalanta game, after the Leicester game, so to speak. The landscape's changed. So I think we want to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Karthik, I'll hand back over to you, but I don't know where you want to start, mate.
Yeah, no. To be fair, you've summed it up pretty well. I think the main takeaway out of today is that is a sackable offence. Simple as that. You can't lose to Liverpool 5-0. You just can't. Now, some strong Ole inners, as if you want to call them that, might go, oh, well, Sir Alex Ferguson lost 6-1 to Manchester City. Very different. And I think many people would agree this is far, far worse. Now, many people know that I am someone who's been very patient with Ollie. Now, I have criticised him where possible. Some people might think I've not criticised him enough, and some people might think this channel hasn't done that enough. Fair play to you if you think that. However, today, we are literally all on this panel to say that is not good enough. But my question that I'm posing to you guys now is, am I right in saying that that's sackable? Is this tonight has to be the moment that we say it's not going to happen? Because surely, for me anyway, there's no coming back from that. I'll throw that to the floor.
Yeah, can I go first on this, just quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm trying not to take up too much time on this. Yeah, I don't know about you lads, but I had to pinch myself that was actually happening today. I couldn't believe that we were 4-0 down to Liverpool at home at Old Trafford at half time. And to look at the players on the pitch and how they looked, just look in their eyes. Look at how depleted they were. Listen to Old Trafford even at that instance. And I was pinching myself, well, is this actually happening? Because this doesn't feel real. And then we came out for the second half, and one stand was half empty. And the players still didn't look like they knew what was going on. Everything was a little bit wild. And I fast forward to full time. And I don't know if you guys have seen this footage of Ollie at full time, shaking Klopp's hand and walking down towards the tunnel. And that walk, that 50 seconds there of footage was harder to watch than the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he was broken. He was completely broken. And I don't want Ollie out. I want this guy to succeed more. And I think any Manchester United fan out there, it doesn't matter whether you love your tactics or you love the idea of coaching or you want United to be prime Barcelona or United of 99 or United of 08, whoever you are. It doesn't matter how you love your football. When you've got a legend like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managing your football club, it's fairy tale stuff. When you've got Cristiano Ronaldo back in your team and Paul Pogba back in it, it's fairy tale stuff. When Bruno Fernandes, undoubtedly one of the best midfielders in the country, Maguire, the same, Shaw was brilliant. There's this fairy tale and this romance with the United team that felt so good. And today, it sort of felt like it's never felt so bad. And that's how turbulent it is at the moment, being a United fan. And I don't want Ollie out, but my emotion right now is that he can't continue after that. If you're a football club and you have standards, those standards have to be reached. Now, our form hasn't been great, but form aside, you can't lose like that, in that manner, the way you did, the way we played at Old Trafford against one of your biggest rivals, a club that we, and to his own passion, Sir Alex Ferguson said as soon as he took over, we're going to knock them off their perch. The hard work that went over the years. And it sort of felt like today, no, we've got to knock them off their perch again, because this Liverpool team looked like they're going to run riot. And it was tough. And I sort of feel like if United want to catch up and get anywhere near again, the change has to happen sooner rather than later, because we feel miles away. That wasn't just a team today, by the way, that took on Liverpool that didn't look like winning the league. That looked like a team today that looked years away from being anywhere near Liverpool, and we are better than that. So, I mean, that's really long-winded, but that was all my emotion. I've never been more pained by a Manchester United defeat from what I can remember than today.
It didn't look like a team in the first place, Ben. You kept calling it a team. It wasn't a team today. And I think Trigger Kim, the comment, he's got the spot on. He has lost the dressing room, and it felt like that today. Now, we can look at the Atalanta result and say, oh, well they came back in the second half and they were superb and they played really well. But that was pride. That was when we all, on this channel, especially Stu, he's said it loads of times about player responsibility, their own standards. That was that. That's what it was on Wednesday night. It was losing Champions League football was the threat there. And they were like, hang on a minute, I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not playing in the Europa League. I'm Jadon Sancho. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not playing in that tournament. That's what that was.
Without butting in and again making it all about me tonight, because I'm going to do it.
Yeah, go on.
I semi-disagree with that, because I thought in the second half, Maguire looked really good and he pulled the defence back together, which was great. I also felt like we pressed better as a team in that second half, and I felt like we had some impetus going forward. So I slightly disagree. I agree in the first half. But today, and I do agree though, Leicester's a cop. Leicester was the warm-up for today. Like, literally, It was like, this is how shit it is in that Leicester game. And then we got to Liverpool today, and it's like, this is how much shitter it is now after that Leicester game. It's like the midweek didn't happen. And that's the worry. And I don't know, Callum would be good to hit on this, but I know James wants to go next. It fucks me off when then all the players come out and go, I love Manchester United and we need to do better as a team. Well, you're responsible for your own individual performance and you could have given more. Everyone on that pitch could have given more. Yeah. We all know that. And that's what's frustrating about this. But we can't keep scapegoating the players all the time with every single manager. We do it all the time. Yeah. This squad should be challenging for titles. It should be. It's that good. We can see it's that good. And we're not stupid football people. The names on that team sheet are good enough to give Liverpool a game. They didn't even give them a run around in a park today, Carpet. They didn't even give them a run around that's how poor we were today. And that's a mixture of everything. And the ticking time bomb's just exploded. Anyway, James, sorry, mate.
Go on, James.
Lots of frustration.
I'll preface this with the fact that I've been sort of dangerously Ollie in for a long time, to the point where I've effectively been a top red without being a complete arsehole about it.
You've been a complete arsehole too.
Oh yeah,
massive arsehole.
That's just comes natural though. But yeah, I've backed him blindly after the 6-1 loss to Tottenham. Still wanted him in. I could see a process. I could see where we were going. But this season's completely swayed me. It really has, which is very much depressing. I'm very much now separating the manager from the player, and to watch that as a Manchester United legend, as a manager, having also one of Manchester United's biggest legends of all time in Cristiano Ronaldo in your team, to not be able to fire this team up to play against Liverpool, the old enemy, is horrific. It's because those players did not look interested at all. Trigger Kim's completely right with his comment earlier that you brought up. And it's something I mentioned on a couple of shows ago. Ollie's always had that, the backing from the players. They've always got him out of the difficult times, and that's one thing you can have on his record. He was an unbelievable man manager. But you telling me you watch that performance, you watch the Leicester performance, you watch the Wolves performance, you watch quite a lot of these performances where we've been genuinely outclassed by, apart from Liverpool, every single team we've played so far, we should be battering, really. And we've been outclassed by a number of them. That is very, very concerning. And I don't see how, given the way the players were moping around the pitch. I get, Ben, you said the performance in the second half improved. I think Liverpool just slacked off a little bit. They didn't want to exert any extra energy.
I meant against Atalanta, not against Liverpool.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it's diabolical, really, this season. We've had some incredible moments already this season, don't get me wrong, some late winners. We've played two teams off the park, and those two teams currently sit around the relegation zone. So it's very, very worrying, and I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm very close to wanting the manager gone, because that 5-0 against Liverpool at home is unbelievable. I get a few of the goals today were individual mistakes, whatever.
Regardless of that,
it does not matter. It does not matter.
Put it simply, Jose Mourinho was sacked off a 3-1 defeat to Liverpool. This is a 5-0 defeat, face to face.
We didn't play anywhere near as bad in that 3-1 defeat to Liverpool as we did today. And the worst thing is, he sticks with this old reliable lineup that's got him out of situations before. He's stuck with it all season, barring injuries. And there's been, even when it's gone horrendously wrong, as it has a number of times this season, there's been no inkling to even shift from it. You've got such unbelievable talent on the bench. The talent so underutilised by this team that we've forgotten how good Alex Telles was, Donny van der Beek was. Jadon Sancho, realistically, I'm not really sure why he didn't play today, given that Greenwood scored a few goals, but he's not, his performance-wise hasn't been at the level since Ronaldo came in. It's just, I'm at a loss for words. The persistent sticking with Maguire, even against Leicester when he wasn't fit, put Eric Bailly in. He played internationals the week before. He's match fit. There's not a chance you can tell me he wouldn't have been a better option than Maguire against Leicester. And Maguire's not had a chance to recover from that injury. It's very clear. I get he did all right against Atalanta when they were realistically trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead. But it just persistently, it's like he needs to be proved right with this lineup, with the old reliable. I can completely understand why he played McFred today. I don't think they were at fault for any of the goals, really. I thought they were somewhat respectable in their performance. But if he goes out, and if we see that same lineup against Tottenham, if we see a McFred pivot, if we see Luke Shaw, who has had probably the worst season of his career, I reckon a day after that leg break, he could have played better than he did today, which he was diabolical. I've been very numb to everything today, and just talking now has got a little bit of an anger out of me. But I'm very, very quickly losing faith with him because I don't see where we go from here. I don't see how he turns this around.
Just before Obi-Wan Kenobi jumps in, I just want to let you know that we appreciate all of you watching right now. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're new. There's over 50 of you watching, so thanks for tuning in. Make sure to get in the live chat because we do read the comments. And it is uncut, so I want to give you all a bit of a laugh. I don't know if this is true, but there's an Arsenal fan in here who's just admitted he has fairly low standards. But he says, I think even I would want my manager sacked if we lost 5-0 to our biggest rivals at home. And I think he's right. Even if you are a very, very staunch Alina, you can't be blamed for saying this. And Connor's also spot on. They pitied us in that second half, and that's why it wasn't 10-0 at full time. Go on, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, thank you very much. There was a lot of anger there, James. A lot of anger.
Listen, that was animated for me. That was very animated.
Yeah,
animated, bloody hell.
That's the most animated I've seen you all season, to be honest. Yeah. Listen, where do we go from here? I have been very much in the same sort of ballpark as James across the last few months. But I like to sort of be challenged and understand that people are fallible, people make mistakes, and I just don't know how he comes back from this. Particularly, obviously, James has said as well that he's very quickly run out of patience this season, and I have too. Listen, this is almost the same team as last season. We had a wonderful window, and you have to better what you've done previously, and he has not done that. In previous weeks, we've been playing teams that really we should beat. We struggled against Wolves. We were lucky to come out as winners. Probably should have lost against Southampton. Leicester are easier. Good team, great team, well run, but easier, and we need to be able to put up a fight, and we didn't. And a man manager, he has done wonderful things. He has got the best out of some players. He has given us a different perspective on the Paul Pogba situation. I almost thought a few weeks ago that he might sort of turn around, sign a contract, and stay perhaps. But being a good man manager only gets you so far. And as James said, as you've all said, the players didn't look happy from the get-go. The defence were poor. You're right about McFred. Actually, they weren't too bad today. They were probably our two brightest sparks if you can find one. And
who was just McTominay and Fred, Mark?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do believe that
they were better of a bad bunch.
They were the better two of the bad bunch. They didn't put a lot wrong. The first 3 goals were Luke Shaw, okay, and that's just how I feel. Listen, we're all going to disagree at some point. Whatever.
Wrong all match. They were completely torn apart the whole game.
They were
torn apart the whole game, and that was because McTominay and Fred didn't know when one person pulls, the other needs to push. Like they don't carry each other around the pitch well at all, and it's always going to be with them two.
I think that was an issue throughout the whole team, though. And I know Sky Sports jumped on this throughout the whole thing, but I noticed it as it was happening. It was the fact that Gary Neville was hitting the nail on the head with this, and I know a lot of people don't agree with him, but the pressing issue, it was so evident today, and it was the same as Leicester. There was a really good example where I think it was in the first half, for the first goal actually, and if we look at where that move starts, it's with Bruno going to press the keeper, which I've always said is pointless. Why would you go and press the goalkeeper? Just cut off any passing lanes and let him go long. But anyway, he does that, he comes back in. That's like, okay, great. Then Mason goes to press, and he presses way too late. And then you watch every single other player react rather than be proactive. And that was the issue today. Every decision was a reactive one, not a proactive one. So you'd see Mason go and press, and then Aaron Wan-Bissaka realizes too late and goes, oh, okay, I'll go and press. And then the next one has to come, and then the next one has to go. And that's so easy to play through. That was the first goal.
And Karthik, that's coaching.
Exactly.
That's coaching. That's the problem. I mean, that's the thing. So, you can talk about individual mistakes, and I'm sure Callum wants to have a word, but it's coaching. Anyway, I'll have my say in a minute.
No, I mean, it is coaching, and it's a bit of both, because number one, players should know that, when you see a trigger, you go. And that's when you go and press. And if your teammate goes, you go, whether you think you should or not. If your teammate goes, you go as well. But this isn't being worked on in the training ground. Gary Neville said it during the game that we have never been a pressing team the last 2 years.
Pressing team, the what?
I've lagged. I'm back.
So much
We were a pressing team when Ollie first came in. We tried to press. Then we became a counter-attacking team. So if we've not worked on that pressing thing for maybe 1.5 years, why are we now deciding to do it against Liverpool of all teams, up against a defence that has been playing through presses for 2 seasons? It's silliness. Callum, I know you want to jump in, so I'll let you do that now.
First, I'll just address what Mark said. McTominay and Fred were 2 of the worst players on the pitch today. They constantly got passed through. Considering our defence is so bad, that and we not having that main number 1 midfielder to go in at the number 6, them 2 have to play to protect the back 4. They've not done it well once this season. They're not doing the job properly, and they haven't done for a frigging long time. And I am getting genuinely sick to death of seeing both their names on the team sheet. I have a little bit more patience for McTominay, but he is being dog shit this season. Absolute dog shit. He never shows for the ball. He doesn't protect his back 4. I'm struggling to see the point of him this season. Same with Fred. Fred, again, did the exact same thing, lost the ball constantly. Now we'll get onto the defence. Honestly, it's as bent as a 9-bob note. It's ridiculous. They are all over the place. And it's hitting a point now where Maguire and Shaw were actually very good last season. How do they become brain-dead dickheads in the space of a few months? I don't understand what they're doing. How many times... Could I ask everyone what position Luke Shaw is? He's a left-back, isn't he? He's a left-back. I just don't understand how he can come into the centre of the pitch so many times. And
I'll tell you why. It was because Maguire was in his own world. I don't know what world he was playing in, but he was in his own world.
Do you know what though?
Luke Shaw's naturally coming
Shaw was worse. Shaw was worse. That one where they bumped into each other, that's Shaw's fault.
Shaw was worse. And the thing is, he's doing it when Maguire isn't playing. So he's doing it and he's constantly falling out of position. He's running into his own players and leaving arguably the number 1 player in the world at the moment, Salah, on his own. It's ridiculous. And I just don't understand how he was so brilliant last year. And this year, honestly, it's like he's never seen a football before.
I checked the stats from today's game, by the way, Callum, and Shaw got 3 assists for the Liverpool goals.
Well, there you go. Says everything, doesn't it?
Fair play.
Last week against Leicester.
Shaw this week as well.
Last week against Leicester, it was Maguire giving them all the goals. This week, it was Shaw. The only player that I actually thought had any kind of shining light today was Ronaldo. And that was because he scored. That wasn't offside, by the way, I want to add. But it meant absolutely nothing. Bruno, ugly bear, right? Callum will never say anything bad about Bruno. Bruno was shite today as well. But trust me, there are other players in that team today that deserve more than Bruno.
100%.
Honestly, I don't call out certain players sometimes because, trust me, there's bigger issues. I'm going to call out Bruno if I feel like he deserves to be called out, which to an extent he probably does. But in comparison to Pogba, Pogba was only on for 40 minutes and he should be frigging lambasted for what he did, and I'll come on to that in a second. Shaw was, honestly, it was like he'd never seen a ball before. Maguire's brain just doesn't seem to want to work. Again, we're relying on De Gea this season again. It's the same as 5 years ago under Van Gaal when he was saving absolutely everything. How has this become this point? And honestly, I've never said it before. I was sat in the living room watching that game today. 5-0 against Liverpool. You can take, shit performances can happen, but Liverpool, man, wow. If you play like that for Man United anytime, it's bad. You play like that against Liverpool, the team we hate more than anybody else, you don't deserve to ever put the Man United shirt on again. Honestly, Maguire, he was that bad today. And I don't know if anyone clocked it in his interview today, but he made a little comment at the start of his interview that bugged me. And he said, I'm here because I have to be here. I thought that was really poor. I'm here because I have to be here.
I think he meant that in terms of he didn't want to come out and speak, and that says a lot about him.
I'm sorry. Roy Keane and Gary Neville came out every time because they knew.
I mean, just quickly, I didn't see the interview, Callum, but how did he say it? Because it could be said in a different way, as in like, I have to be here, I have to front up.
He said it very timidly.
Okay. Yeah, he said it very, So it came across a little poor in my eyes, especially after the performance he'd just made. It was almost like he was forced to be out there. He should have been out there.
He was backing instantly. Out of his answers as well. He started an answer because I think Jeff asked him what went so wrong, and he said we were too open in the first half, and then he looked like he was going to go into it, and then he sort of backtracked on it and went, look, it wasn't good enough. And I was like, see there, that's when you can.
Do you know what it felt like to me? Honestly, it was an interview where they should have come out today and been brutally honest about each other and gone, look, we were absolutely appalling today. We're really sorry. There's issues. We'll fix them. We're doing our best to fix them. But that nobody deserves to watch that today. They should have just gone completely in. And after the way they performed, that interview felt very, very media trained. And that is not what any of us deserved. We deserved to watch that, like seeing the pictures of Matt Busby Way on 60 Minutes with thousands of people leaving. Like it was awful. I came back. I've been on holiday this week and I've been away for the weekend and came back today and I forgot it was Sunday. I forgot United were playing Liverpool. You're always up for that. As fans, it's the first thing you look for. It's just a fucking shame Man United players weren't, because they honestly should be absolutely ashamed to call themselves a professional footballer after that today. It was absolutely despicable.
Sorry, once I finished lagging. There we go. Now, John, I want to ask you a question. Callum sort of said, I think he said something along the lines of, they don't deserve to wear that shirt again. Now, I think that's a very interesting point, because after that Leicester game, he's got two options. He either plays the same team and goes, look, I trusted you, go out there and show what you're about, or he goes, all of you can sit on the bench and watch a bunch of lads who deserve to go out and do it. So for going forward, and that's a big if, and I'd be surprised if this came about, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer survived, if he goes into training tomorrow and he still has a job, does he have to scrap the lineup and go again? Because that's the only option. Does he have to go, right, Pogba, your bench, well, he can't play anyway. I'm going to bench Ronaldo. I'm going to bench Luke Shaw. I'm going to bench Harry Maguire and just play a bunch of lads who've been waiting months for a chance and have got a point to prove. Is that the only way he can save himself here? Because he's digging himself a grave, is he not?
I think regarding that specific question, I think he's got to do a bit of both. I mean, you benching Ronaldo, I agree with Callum and one or two others who said it. You know, he was not the problem today. If you think Ronaldo's the problem, then well,
he's not the problem today, but he is affecting how we're setting up to play games. Because if we were going to press today, I think that's not the answer.
First of all, if you want to press, don't buy Ronaldo. Secondly, I've seen some of the analysis of Ronaldo this season. I think it's been a bit lame and just a bit low-hanging fruit and easy. I don't think he's done a lot wrong. He's done a lot right. I don't see how him playing is drastically affecting the team anyway to how Cavani would be playing, for example. He would normally be in that position for the last few months. I don't see... I think it's just a very lazy analysis of us tactically. I don't think he's changed the whole dynamic of the team, and now we're this completely different outfit. No, we've just got one of the, greatest goal scorers, if not the greatest goal scorer of all time in our team. And he's saved our bacon on more than one occasion. And that's not me just seeing it through some sort of Ronaldo rose-tinted, glasses. I like to think, despite my allegiances to the club, I can still objectively answer that question. So I don't think, and regarding your question specifically, I don't see, we don't have enough players really to change every single player. And I think players like De Gea can stay. I'm actually probably slightly more closer to Mark and maybe even James, I think, on the McFred issue. I don't see Matic changing things. I do think he got his lineup wrong today, partly. I would have, and this is not sounding clever after the event, I was convinced all week that Sancho was the right thing to do. But because I tell you one thing, this is my, if you like, lazy analysis of Sancho, having watched him play a dozen or so times before coming to the club. He's actually excellent on the counter attack. That's the problem with him against when he started. I think against Southampton did he start, and one or two other games that are sort of sitting back against. He gets the ball and he's got to beat 4 or 5 men. Not always the case. Someone like Rashford might be able to do it, even did on one occasion today. But Sancho's excellent on the counter, and Dortmund would often exploit that when he was there. And I saw that being a perfect person for today's game on the right hand side, for example. I also would have started with Pogba, and I probably would have had a more defensive looking team. Regarding the back four, drop Shaw. I think Tellers has to come in, although I've not got huge amounts of faith in him. But you've got to say something about that defeat. You can't just go and play more or less the same team next week. You have to send out a signal. You have to say that's not good enough, Shaw. Just this is not good enough the whole season, really. I don't know how close Varane is back, but if he was close to being back, then he would obviously be an option for Maguire. And I think he's out for a few weeks. So I don't know where we're at with that. But
end of the month, I think.
End of the month. Okay, so it could be then. Could be then for next week. End of next month. You mean end of November?
No, it's supposed to be the end of October.
Oh, okay, so he could be back next week. But I want to address a couple of other things that we sort of mentioned a bit. This whole Ollie in, Ollie out thing. I think some of it is social media playing with us. What do I mean by that? I mean, if I counted every single tweet I saw that said something along these lines, if you want Ollie out, you're not a real supporter. You're not this. You don't go to the matches. You're not a real fan. Okay. If you want Ollie out and you want us to lose, that's this narrative. Okay. I would say I've seen around about 500 to 1,000 tweets along those lines. Okay. I have seen 0 tweets that say, as a Manchester United fan, I want us to lose. I'm not saying there aren't 1 or 2 people saying it out there. I'm not saying that these don't exist. There might be some dude in Singapore. There might be some troll in Russia who's tweeting it. It could be Vladimir Putin from his cave, for all I know. But
there's a geezer in Yorkshire that said it the other day.
Fine, one geezer, okay? I don't care, to be honest with you. I don't care. He's not on my radar. I don't follow him. I don't retweet him. I don't interact with him or her. I was a dude, you said, right? So it's just not an issue. I don't even know why. I don't know why people get involved in it, because they're not even. And then people react to that and they go, yeah, these guys. And they're just, this is the social. If you've ever seen that documentary about social media, that is it at play. That is it. And then regarding the Ollie in, Ollie out, there's a lot of very angry people, but they're also passionate. And okay, if somebody wants to see a change at the helm, I think we need to do it respectfully. I'm completely with Ben. I felt dreadful during that 50-odd second walk down the touchline. I don't know if Ben had his stopwatch out at the time, but I would have said 50-odd seconds. But it was just dreadful. And I felt really bad for him, more than I would for any other coach. But it doesn't mean that I think he's the right man to take us forward. And that's
John, can I quickly say on Ollie in and Ollie out? I feel like It's got to the point now where you've got to be one or the other with the way that the social culture works. And I feel like it's the wrong culture to have, because ultimately I think if you do go to the point where you create a banner and you are Ollie out, or for instance you taint yourself with that banner of being #Ollie out, games then becomes about something different other than supporting the football club. You then become more obsessed with the game fitting your agenda as to why you're Ollie out, and not actually being able to have perspective over 90 minutes of football. Now, like Karthik said at the start of this show, all for United, we try to be quite subjective about games. For instance, Mark today, when he done the reaction, his job on that reaction show with the fantastic panel that he had was to actually talk about the match, like talk about the performance, talk about the game as it was. Whereas other people and other channels would just go in on straight away and just talking about Ollie out. Like,
I know.
It was very, very difficult though today, I'll be honest. There was so much. It was so tough.
I'm not saying it's not difficult, but what I'm trying to say is ultimately it means that when you come out of games or go into games, you're already thinking about what then's going to come after it. And that ultimately your whole reaction is going to be around why you're Ollie out or why you're Ollie in. ultimately, whoever is our manager, I'm going to support that club. I'm going to support this football. What the fuck is going on there, James? What is happened?
A cat on his desk.
Oh my! What?
James, put your pussy away.
Yeah, listen, Ben. I understand what you mean.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I do
yeah,
know what you mean, and I know what you mean.
It's a good point.
We saw it at Arsenal for a few years, with
100%.
the fans kind of torn over that in a similar kind of way. I know Wenger wasn't obviously a club playing legend, but he had this rapport with some of the older fans that the younger fans wanted him out, and I get that, but I still think that we've not seen any Ollie out, or I haven't seen many Ollie out banners or flags at the stadium, and I don't expect to see them. And I wouldn't be somebody.
It's a social culture at the moment.
It's a social media culture, right? But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I want to see a different manager because I think it's best for our club. I don't have a problem with that either. I have a problem if you're going to be really horrible to the guy or you don't have any kind of sympathy for him, as he said when he's walked down that touchline. And by the way, I'm just going to finish on this note. Ajax won 5-0 today against their biggest rivals, PSV. So I think there's two results of 5-0 that thinking about the next coach, that's what I'm thinking about. I think his name's Ten Hag, isn't it? I've heard Zidane mentioned. I think that's laughable, if I'm honest. He doesn't speak English. And some of the people that said about Zidane, I said, he doesn't speak. Oh, he does. He doesn't. So I think that's a big issue there. And there's a few other issues with Zidane in general, I find. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's time for something else.
No, I agree with most of what's been said, to be honest. Go on, Mark. Sorry.
I mean, my biggest issue with today was, my biggest issue from today genuinely was our biggest rivals, most hated rivals, took the foot off the gas against us. It was almost like they felt sorry for us.
That was worse than us losing 10-0.
Yeah, Liverpool could have beat us 10-0 today. And that's not an exaggeration. They could have absolutely destroyed us if they wanted to. And you could see when there was some shots of Solskjaer on the touchline or Ronaldo at the top of the field in the background, you could see the Liverpool fans laughing. And that's what felt the worst about it. It was quite embarrassing that the team that, the partner that we seem to have in terms of the biggest club in England took the foot off the gas because we were that bad. They felt sorry for us. It made me, I felt like Norwich today. It was absolutely shocking. They shouldn't be feeling sorry for us. But the game that we were that bad, it was like they played like Ermston Medicide, like at a frigging, like a little Sunday League team. I couldn't believe I was watching professional footballers who earn hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. And people on TalkSport go, oh, well, it doesn't matter about money. It does, because to us fans who go to Old Trafford and spend £100 in the stadium, that's money to them that matters. And then when the people that you pay to go see give you a performance like that, it's a disgrace. Like, Liverpool should have beat us 7 or 8-0 today. The fact that they scored one goal when we had 10 men kind of shown how much. It was like Klopp said to him, relax now, just rest up. You've won the game, don't worry about it. And they were that bad, they still managed to score again. It was shocking. I've never been so angry as a United fan.
No,
and whether it is Solskjaer and whether he needs to go, that's obviously a thing up for debate. But those players, I hate this idea of you don't play, they weren't playing for the manager because, they weren't. But they don't play for the manager. They play for Man United. They don't play for a manager. They play for the biggest club in the world. And if you play like that against our most hated rivals, forget who your manager is. Why do you deserve to be here? I know Stu says it all the time, but these players have got to be held accountable for their absolute dross that they're putting on the pitch. The coaching can come as a separate issue, but some of the things that they're doing is genuinely ridiculously stupid.
You can tell when players have put an effort in, but the system's not quite right. That was
exactly, and that's a completely different issue. But when they are making amateurish mistakes, you just kind of think it almost to the point that they're doing it on purpose. Like Like you centre back and left back running into each other, leaving the best players in the world with 10 yards of space to shoot at goal. Like I think it was Salah's second goal. Luke Shaw was by the middle of the penalty box, and Mo Salah had a good 15 yards. The best player in the world at the moment, and you're giving him that amount of time and space. That's not a coaching issue. That's borderline. That's complete stupidity. I just don't understand how they're just going to get away with it again. We've had manager after manager, and these players are throwing Solskjaer under the bus. You can question his ability as a manager, fine, but the performance was that bad. They could have had Ferguson in the absolute prime of his career. If that's how they want to play football, then it doesn't matter who the manager is.
I mean,
Callum, playing devil's advocate though, we've had player after player throwing the manager under the bus now, potentially, because this seems to always be the excuse. The players need to be held accountable. I'm not disagreeing with that, by the way, because I do actually agree, especially today and against Leicester, that the players are as much to blame as the manager. But this 11's better than that. That's the issue here. Like, yeah, of course we can hold the players accountable, but what's going on behind the scenes? And I don't know, Carter, was you mentioned about maybe some rotation or some we sort of discussed rotation. We've always had this argument about Donny van der Beek. Why is he not playing? What's happening in training? That's the question.
There is a very clear issue there with Van der Beek, and I am really struggling to see why the hell.
Same with Tellez.
And the same with Tellez and things like that.
Everyone was going on about how he's the best, one of the best left backs in Europe. He's going to take over Shaw's place easily. I've not seen one of the best left backs in Europe whenever he's played for United. Nowhere near.
I think I need to just come out and say it. And I think you all know as better than anyone, I have never said I want Ollie to go, ever. I've probably been his biggest protector on this channel. I know no one particularly Ollie out on this channel, but I refuse to say it, never have said it. But I cannot forgive a 5-0 against Liverpool, and I think it might be time for him to go.
Yeah.
And I always thought I'd back him, and I will still back him until he does go.
Yeah.
But I have now hit the point where I'm a bit like, that's it. And I know go back to the point of playing for the manager. Unfortunately, players are like that nowadays. They're big frigging babies who, if they don't get what they want, they just so, we'll down tools. The manager will go, we'll get something else.
I mean, the question I think, sorry, Callum, do you want to continue?
No, go on, Matt.
I think the question every United fan has to ask themselves is, do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will win a league title with Manchester United? Do you think that will happen?
I genuinely believed he could.
Mm-hmm. We all did.
I mean now. Do you think it could happen?
Absolutely not.
Not this season,
right.
No. I think one needs.
Well, I think ever. And I think if your answer to that question is, first of all, if your answer to that question is no, well then you have to change the manager. And if the answer to the question is yes, what's the evidence for that?
The issue is as well, though, John. Like then afterwards, you spur our own questions in your mind, and I sat down and done this today, where I was like, why should I have ever expected Ollie to win the Premier League as well? After again watching Sky talk about his credentials and where he come in from, and so to speak, some of the decisions he's made through games. And actually, this moves on to Carpet. I want to actually ask you a question because I think we spoke about this before. And when Ollie was going through that great form, beating the top 6, do you remember the run he had when he first took over and then in the first season?
Yeah, because I went to every home game.
Yeah, played 14, won 8, draw 4, 2 defeats. And then last season, played 10, won 2, drawn 5, 3 defeats. And obviously this season, we've only played 2 and we've lost them both. What's the one factor that he changed up? He stopped playing 3 at the back in these games. And Fred and McTominay no longer had that luxury of a back 3 behind him in the bigger games. Yes, we can argue the other teams have got better, but here's my question. I think against Leipzig last season when we were sat down, and Mark, I think we were on the show and we said, Ollie's learning. We always use it, Ollie's learning on job, etc., etc. Seems like Ollie hasn't even learned from the things that he'd done right earlier on in his managerial career of United. Because today, I just felt like to balance it, I think we should have gone for it at the back today. I don't understand why he tried to play with a 4 at the back. We're all saying that the best way of opening up that midfield is having Varane at the back. we've not had Varane at the back. Varane hasn't even had an impact at the club yet. We look so open. And the only way you counter that is changing it up to 3 at the back. Why has he not done it?
I mean, look, the 3 at the back thing.
I thought it was the obvious decision to go 3 at the back today.
Yeah, it might have been, but I don't think that isn't how he wants to play by the looks of it. And I think ultimately he does want to be that. Before Ronaldo came anyway, I think he did want to be that hardest working team in the league. He wanted to be that team that pressed from the front, always kept the pressure high. Just, I know it's a bit cliche, but just the hardest working team in the league. Now, I feel like it was a little bit of a Glazer job buying Ronaldo. The nostalgia, it was all amazing. Don't get me wrong, we were all so happy we signed him. But it completely went against the grain of what we wanted to play like, or what Ollie wanted to play like. You're not going to press from the front with Ronaldo in your team. You're just not. He's not done it since he made his debut. He's never done it, and he never will. He's certainly not going to start doing it at 36 years of age. So, if you want to do that, you play Cavani. And Cavani will run and run and run. It reminds me a little bit like Tevez when he was at United, Cavani. And that I don't know if I want to say changed our style, but we're just not ever going to press with Ronaldo in a team. And when he's not getting the service, because for whatever reason, I genuinely don't know why he's not getting the service, but if he's not getting the service, it then becomes a point where all you're doing is stopping that press from the front, and he's then not giving you any goals or any attacking threat, because he scored a few goals, obviously, but he's not giving us the attacking threat. So it then becomes a thing, it's like, well, what's Ronaldo going to do? Yeah, I know he's amazing, but at what point do you go, he is only one man, and it's a team game, and it needs to be a collective effort. It felt like there was 11 individuals on the pitch today, and that's never going to work in a game of football.
Well, this is the thing. You say we can't press with Ronaldo, so even if we're not pressing him, we're going to set up in a block. We don't even do that properly. When we're in a block, we don't have... When you're in a block, you're supposed to squeeze in the middle, let them go out wide, engage them there. And if they go through the middle, press them, send them somewhere else. We don't even do that. We go and press them, and the distances are wrong, and we leave gaps, and we go through. That's something on the training ground. So if we're not working on pressing, what the hell are we working on?
But also, Cal, you answered that in your first sentence when you said this is how he wants to play. He doesn't have the personnel to play that way. He hasn't done since the start of the season. By not buying a midfielder who can sit in between the lines and actually dictate that midfield and tell people when to go and not to go, you're stopping your opportunity of having a functional press anyway.
But you know what, though?
Just quickly, John mentioned it earlier on. Jadon Sancho, he's not a pressing forward. He's best on the counter-attack. So why even did we sign Jadon Sancho? Doesn't come down to Ronaldo. I still think that you get the best out of Ronaldo, you get the best out of Sancho, you get the best out of Fred and McTominay, out of Harry Maguire by playing to your players' strengths. And ultimately, when you're in times of turmoil like we are at the moment and going through bad form, you've either got to A, try and shut up shop and grab points where you can to ride it, which Ollie has always been good at, or you go the opposite way, which is done, and all your bad habits look 100 times worse because your players can't play out the instruction of what you want.
It's like you say, it is like you say, the problem is we wouldn't have signed a midfielder anyway. Even if we didn't get Ronaldo, we weren't getting a midfielder because the Glazers didn't want to sign anybody else. The commercial aspect of getting Ronaldo was just too much to turn down, obviously. But the main thing is, look, I'm not a coach. I'm not trained in any way to be a coach. I just speak as a fan. So when I saw that analysis from Neville and Carragher and all them, and believe it or not, I couldn't believe it, but I actually found myself agreeing with Graham Souness. When they press today, you had Ronaldo chase the ball down, and then it had come across to another Liverpool defender, and then Greenwood would go and chase the ball down. Why aren't they pressing as a unit and all putting pressure on the ball? Instead of just Ronaldo doing it.
That's what I said at the top. It was all reactive and not proactive.
You're exactly right. It's all reactive. Right, what can I do next? What can I do next? Liverpool were 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of us in every aspect of the game today. And the problem with that is you're going to get absolutely battered on a football pitch if you do that. This is what I mean. Ronaldo was pressing the ball today. Ball got away from him. He turned around and everybody was 40 yards behind him. He turned around and just went, well, what am I supposed to do? So we say about Ronaldo not pressing, but at least he frigging tried to at one stage. And then he turned around and sees everyone 40 yards behind him. He's like, well, how can I get the ball if no one else is even trying to get the ball? It's just, it was complete individual performances. And the whole pressing thing does come from the coaches. It comes from the manager. And ultimately, Solskjaer is completely responsible for that 5-0 defeat today. And he's going to get absolutely screamed at over the next few days. And, and I will still back him. Even now, I don't want him to leave. I really struggle with the 5-0 thing, but I'll never call for him to be sacked. I don't want him to be sacked. I still want him at United. But I think that might just be more my heart speaking than my head. Because, look, growing up, Solskjaer was my hero. And it's kind of like Ben said, it's a bit of a fairy tale. If he goes and wins the league for Man United, it'd be... Imagine... look, I don't want Conte, but he's just the first name I thought of. Imagine he did come in and won us the league in 5 years' time or whatever. It wouldn't feel as good if, it'd feel so much better if Solskjaer did it. Imagine Solskjaer won you the league. It'd feel,
I will say,
it'd feel that little bit more special. Do you know what I mean?
When he was walking off and he was looking into the Stretford end and he was doing his little claps every now and then, it did look as if he was taking one last look. He did look really defeated as he walked off. He looked broken, and it was just like he looked like he'd run out of ideas. That's what I'll say.
The board aren't sacking him. We know they're not. They're not. It's not going to happen. It doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to go after that, but it's not going to happen.
I disagree.
I think they might.
I think there's going. I think there's going to be some big changes over the next few days. I think they know what the worth is playing Liverpool, losing 5-0.
Oh, angry the Glazers know what the worth is.
No, I do. Listen, it happened with Jose before. I know it was obviously the shit was even in a worse state than what it is. But honestly, we'll see.
Keep mentioning Jose. I get it, Mark. I understand. Sorry, this isn't me going in at you, but I keep seeing it all the time. We keep mentioning Jose. We are forgetting what a mess the club.
No, I agree.
Off the pitch.
I agree. I said this earlier. I agree, and I said this earlier, but listen, I don't know how you come back from this. He was already under pressure, okay? He's had a really poor few weeks, and now he's lost 5-0, which is in the top 4 of the worst ever defeats at home to Liverpool, today, lifeless, no one playing for him. That did happen today. Listen, we can talk about coaching, you can have a go at it, whatever, but the players were shocking today. Every single one of them, other than Ronaldo to a certain degree. And I just don't see how he comes back from this. I genuinely don't.
I agree, but I don't agree that the board knows what that means. I don't think any of the board, I don't think the owners know how that felt for us today. I don't think
I
they
agree.
felt
Fact of the matter is they won't sack him until we are probably 9 points off top 4. That's the only time they sack him.
I really think this might have been. Look, I know they've come out with statements and said they'll back him, but I really think this might have. I have genuinely considered. I think we might wake up in the morning and see that he's been sacked. I really think.
Yeah, me too.
Potentially. James, go on. I know you've been waiting to jump in.
It seems a little bit irrelevant now, but I wanted to go in on a bit further on the learning on the job sort of thing with what people were saying earlier. The learning on the job is all right, but it doesn't feel like he is learning. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's been said, but
point.
just to give examples, like there's no going back to the team cohesion and everything, going back to the pressing. You very often see, even last season, it would only be Bruno Fernandes pressing on his own because clearly there was no team instruction whether who presses and who doesn't. And if there was, Bruno Fernandes is ignoring that, and then you've got a question: why is your best player overriding the manager? It was the same today. I think he left Fred and McTominay very exposed because he was pressing and they weren't. Whose fault that was, I don't know. We don't know what happens in the changing room. But you look, learning as well. I get we went to a back 5 when we went 10 men down. You look at your squad. Who do you play as the 3 centre backs? You've got Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, but who can slot into centre back. Who is the better one at attacking and playing as a wing back? Luke Shaw, who is very, very suspect at going forward and looks very clumsy on the ball. Wan-Bissaka. So what do? You keep Wan-Bissaka out on the right. You relocate Dalot onto an uncomfortable side on the left, and you slot Luke Shaw into centre back in a game where he's looked so horrific in defence. He was him and Maguire together were probably accountable for 4 of the 5 goals. And you're thinking, yeah, let's put him at centre back. Let's keep Wan-Bissaka bombing down the wing, taking dodgy touches, running like a spider with one of his legs pulled off, and whipping balls into no one. And let's get Dalot down the left, who, fair enough, I think he put in a shift and I thought he tried to get forward, but it's the same problem that we had with Brandon Williams. You can't have an attacking fullback who's constantly having to cut back onto his right foot. So he obviously knows the team better than us, but he doesn't show it. How can you possibly consider? Like, there's experts on TV that were saying Wan-Bissaka could probably fit into an England back 3 with the system they play. Wan-Bissaka's best trait is defending. He's an out-and-out defender. We constantly comment on how bad he is at attacking.
He got caught out so many times today.
Yeah, but if you want to play a back 5, why are you going to put a fullback who has spent his entire life with more attacking prowess than defensive? How are you going to put him at centre back and keep the bloke who can't attack, which is very much on record that he cannot attack, on the right? And it's frustrating. And I go back to the point as well of, do you ever see him winning the title? I think this season, with the expectation on him to win a trophy, look at the competitions we're in. In every single competition, there are at least 3 teams that are better than us. Not personnel-wise, but you look at the way teams play. This is just domestically. Champions League, there's even more. 3 teams in the Premier League, 3 teams in the FA Cup who undoubtedly we are not beating, unless they have an absolute shocker. So I don't see him winning a trophy for us this season, and that was the minimum expectation. So at what point do you cut it off and say, right, that enough is enough if we want a chance of a top 4? And then that brings me on to my final point. I guess it's been very long-winded, but I've not spoken half an hour. I need to get it all out. And now it's gone. Jesus, what was I going to say? Yes, about him getting sacked. I want to bring up a point that I made, because I don't think any of you were on the show when I made it. I think he only gets sacked when the Glazers realise that Champions League might not get that Champions League money. It was the same with Mourinho. After that Liverpool defeat, I'm not sure we were like 12 points off top 4, and the Glazers thought, right, there's a serious chance we're not getting that big cash injection from UEFA this next season. So we need to get rid of the manager. I think right now, to be, what are they, 6 points off top 4 after 9 games, in a very abstract sense, that is doable in terms of clawing that back. And I think the Glazers will see it like that because it'll be cheaper. So until it's looking unlikely that we're not going to get top 4, I don't think we'll see the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is frustrating but not surprising in any sense.
Callum, I know you need to go soon, so I'll let you.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not necessarily related in terms of any kind of performance, but I suppose it is to an extent. But John just put in the private chat Ronaldo's social media post.
Yeah.
Kind of sick to death of seeing it now.
Yep.
I'm sick of the "we go again. We're really sorry. You don't deserve it. We deserve better." Blah blah. I'm just sick to death of it. I feel like it's really fake. I feel like if they were really sorry, they wouldn't play like that. You know what I mean? I hate the cliche saying, but actions speak louder than words. Instead of putting something crap online, show it on the football pitch. Every single player that played today was better than that. And if that's how they want to perform, then I don't want to see. I think the thing that bothers me about it the most is I know for a fact that isn't Ronaldo at home on his iPhone, typing that. It's his social media manager that he probably pays 40 grand a year for. It won't be him typing that. And it comes, I'm sure they do care. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they don't care that they lost today. But it just feels a little bit more fake when it's, I hope this doesn't come across wrong, and I really hope it doesn't offend anyone. But when you hear Ronaldo speak, his English isn't brilliant, but when he types online, his English is perfect.
I know what you mean.
And it's kind of like, you can just tell it's not him writing it.
And people make fun of Marcus Rashford for that, by the way, for his big paragraphs. But at least he means it. It's him typing it. Yeah,
exactly. But, and I'm not digging around a lot because all of the players probably have these.
No, it's him, by the way.
But, it could have been him. I'm completely speculating. This could be completely unfair. But it just seems a little fake
It's one of the things I like Rio Ferdinand about when he was playing for us. You could tell it was him writing the tweets. Doesn't with some of the other players, if there's a mistake there, a spelling, a grammar, nobody cares, and if they do care, then they can get off my timeline. But no, I know what you mean, Callum.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I think, look, football players in terms of the club that they play for is different because we as fans are so unbelievably attached to that club. Players can leave another club and then feel the exact same about that club. There's not a chip in the brain of the player that can compute what we go through as a fan. I don't think. Look, it's frustrating because we know all the players are going to do it. There'll be loads more tomorrow. There's already been one from De Gea, been one from Ronaldo. Bruno will probably write a book. Rashford will write something. It's just everything about today was wrong. And everything about it was awful. And I know sometimes in some shows, Karthik, or in some of yours, James, or whatever, try and think of a positive. There genuinely wasn't a single good thing about today. Like the players really should hang their heads in shame. Genuinely, it was a shocker, and they kind of need to take a long, hard look at themselves. And so does Solskjaer. And if Solskjaer genuinely does believe he can take this club to the next level, fine. But if he doesn't, because we've seen how great he's been in terms of putting United first, he genuinely feels like he can't take us any further. I feel like he probably is the kind of guy that would go, look, maybe I'm not the right guy anymore, because he loves the club that much. But, it was shocking today. And I think, when do we play next? Saturday night against Spurs? I think we'll be able to tell, if Solskjaer's still here, I think we'll be able to tell if they want the manager there, because if they need to play absolutely perfectly on Saturday night. If anything less than perfect, I don't think the fans will let them get away with it. And they're at Spurs' stadium.
Especially against that Spurs team.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very defensively minded, boring team to watch this season, Spurs. Nuno does it with all these teams. The Wolves were boring as shite last season, or the season before, whenever it was. So, I think it's going to be tough, but I'm just feeling very deflated as a United fan at the moment. But anyway, I wanted to finish on that. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys, and I shall see you soon.
Callum, before you go, because the titles is on his time up, or something along those lines, we'll probably say our piece later on. What do you reckon? Would he be manager for Spurs?
No, I don't think he will.
No, you think he goes?
Being honest, I genuinely think. I think I'll wake up in the morning and he'll be sacked. I really think we'll all wake up in the morning. I don't want it to happen. Look, like I say, he was my hero growing up, and I'll never ever call for him to go. I said on a show once he could relegate us, and I still wouldn't say, because my heart physically can't let me do it. But my head says after that today, and the way the players were, I honestly, I think he'll be gone.
Callum, there's been 2 moments today when I felt that emotion in the heart that you get when you're feeling quite sad in a way, like I did when like Ben mentioned with when Ollie was walking down the touchline. But there's been 2 moments. One when he was walking down the touchline, and 2 was when I was just listening to what you just had to say.
Yeah.
3 when we saw Alex Ferguson's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I feel like I've known Callum for a long time now, although it's only been a year and a bit, but I've never heard Callum so downbeat, ever. And I think that's all of us at the moment. Look,
I'm a miserable, moaning kind of person, and I get it can be funny for some people, but there's a difference when it's genuinely just sad. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a time.
I can sit here and be miserable and make people laugh and make you laugh, but I don't moan about. I moan about like how many slices of bread you get in loaf and stuff like that. Nothing serious, but it was just really tough today. As a United fan and someone that I don't want to be all cringy and horrible, but you love your team and stuff. You just want to see them do well, and especially when it's Solskjaer leading them, you just really frustrating and kind of deflating and just a bit sad, to be honest. Look, at the end of the day, it's a game of football. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but when you just put so much effort into following something, you want to feel like you get something back, and today didn't feel like that, and that's what the most deflating thing was. But there you go.
I personally don't care how many slices, as long as it's an even loaf.
That's why I'm on about it, because it's not an even amount.
But it's really annoying when it's not even amount, especially for a quid. It needs to be an even amount.
It's never even. There's always an odd amount, right? And then I can't have a sandwich.
Yeah.
This is turning into an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld, I think.
Yeah, there you
Or
go.
is it what Peter Griffin done on Family Guy? It really grinds my gears.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't it?
Should do that as a show.
It grinds
Right,
my
guys,
gears.
I'm gonna shoot.
What grinds Callum's gears?
See you later, Callum.
See you later, lads.
See you, Callum.
And then there was 4.
Still over 40 people watching. Make sure you like the video and all that jazz. Like the video if you're feeling shit. There we go. I should have thousands of likes now.
I personally think, boys, by the way, I think he stays for Spurs. I think he stays for Atlanta, and I think he stays for City. And I think it gets worse before it gets better. I don't know why. I don't think
This-
is gone.
See, that does make sense because this board, when they sack a manager mid-season, they like to give the new one a decent run of games. For example, when Jose was sacked, he had an easy run of games coming up. And the same when Moyes was sacked. It was just a few games after, and there was no one really big for gigs to play when he took over. I think that might be the case. We might play the next 2. And then
Also,
have to say,
I mean, we're at rock bottom now, kind of, like we're going into the next game. But how do we feel going to Spurs with Phelan in charge or McKenna and Carrick in charge? How do we feel inviting City going away in the Champions League? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, for me, it's like you'd rather be going with Carrick to Newcastle away or hosting Brentford sorry, this is no disrespect for the other teams, but like to be going into a Manchester derby with no manager, to be going away in the Champions League at this point with no manager, that is a bigger risk than
look, if he does stay in the job, right, the players need to be up for it. Now, the manager's job is to pick them up for that. I mean, I came out, it's nowhere near the same level, but I came in and told you guys last week I lost 9-0 last Sunday, and that was shit. And I've not played a game since. So there's that feeling of you want to go and get back on the pitch to go and put it right. But I don't think that's there with these players. When they came out against Liverpool today to try and forget Atalanta, to correct the first half against Atalanta and to correct Leicester, every week we seem to be saying, okay, right, let's come back out and correct this. Let's go back out and correct. It's never been corrected. They don't seem to be asked anymore. And that's what I'm afraid of. I feel like if we keep him in the job and we go to Spurs, we go to City, we'll just see more of this. And I'm scared about how many goals we'll concede in that time. That's what I'm thinking about it. I don't know if that's the same with you guys, but
I mean, I see what you and Ben are saying, and I also understand that Callum, wouldn't be surprised to wake up and find out he'd been fired. But I guess it's something I sort of mentioned when I watched your show earlier in the comments on YouTube. My concern as well about the club and how badly it's been run over the last 8 years is who knows what contingency plans they would come up with. I mean, we look at how other clubs have won, and we see Man City and how they've had this path to getting Pep Guardiola, which was like 4 years in the making, almost, with each coach and each acquisition in terms of the people that working behind the scenes. They hired people from Barcelona 2 or 3 years before Pep came in. We saw how Liverpool reacted as soon as they thought, hang on a second, there's this guy, a German manager on the market, and if we don't act soon, even if possibly Brendan Rodgers didn't quite necessarily deserve to get fired, they took a decision because within weeks, Benitez was out of Madrid, and for sure Madrid would have been slipping around Klopp, and so on and so forth. But I just don't see us being run in this kind of pragmatic, methodical, but also sensible and smart way. I mean, it's not disrespectful or bad to be sounding out coaches and stuff, but I don't get that impression that we've been sounding out. For example, the coach at Ajax that I mentioned earlier, did anyone contact him during the summer, say, listen, if things don't go well in the first 6 months or the first half of the season, would you be interested in coming for the job? And to be honest with you, my problem with him in getting him is I'm not sure he'd leave Ajax halfway through the season. And I think he would be a manager that might be interested in coming during the summer, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. So that just leaves us with, we're just plucking names out like Zidane and Conte and blah, blah, blah. And well, I think Zidane, for example, would just be a classic Man United decision in my opinion, to match the 30-odd big decisions we've taken, whether that be player acquisition, managerial acquisitions, not having a director of football, then having a director of football, a set-piece coach. I mean, I could go on, and I could probably analyse 100 big decisions that we've taken in the last 7 or 8 years since Ferguson retired. I'd say 80 are wrong, probably, whether that be player acquisition or whatever. And the other problem that I have with it is, of those 80 that were wrong, I think a lot of us could see him coming. I mean, I saw the Van Gaal decision. I saw the Moyes decision, and I found them both perplexing. I'd looked at Van Gaal's record for the previous 10 jobs that he'd had, and he'd failed about 8 or 9 times out of 10. He just got lauded because he won a penalty shootout because he substituted a goalkeeper just before against Costa Rica, I think it was, and suddenly he's the Man United manager, and so many others. So I don't have any faith. I have more faith in Solskjaer to some extent than I do in the other people around him, and certainly upstairs at the club. And so I guess that could be part of the reason why I would be okay with him staying on at least for a few more weeks.
Can I just quickly butt in? It's only very slightly related to what John said. It's completely out of the blue as well. But the frustration for me comes as well in the way we appoint people, and the reliance on getting United people in. I agree with getting United people in, but we're not getting them in the right areas. We don't need United people to be coaches. We need United people up at board level, and it's completely the wrong way around. We've got United people coaching the team that probably aren't up to the job. Carrick has no coaching credentials. Mike Phelan was a great assistant manager 15 years ago. Like, great. We've got no United people on the board where it really matters for people to understand what the United way is. I don't care if we don't play the United way on the pitch. What even is the United way? Play attacking football? Yeah, great. We can do that. I don't care. If it gets results, great. We need United people on the board, the people actually in charge of the club who, are going to make the decisions that will benefit or hinder this club. And we've got it completely the wrong way around. And I don't think people have really woken up to it. The fact that, yes, get United people in, but get them in the right positions, because at the minute they're in the wrong positions.
James, on that exact point, I mean, Ferguson talked about this about 5 or 10 years ago. I think it was before he retired, about how he kind of liked the Bayern Munich model of bringing in people like Rummenigge and various others. Even Gerd Müller, who's now sadly passed away, had a role at the club, and blah blah blah. And there's several more, and I'm sure I'm missing many. But these are people in ambassadorial roles. They're in board level roles. They're not on the training pitch. Bayern Munich did it once with Jurgen Klinsmann, and it was the biggest disaster that even a club like Bayern Munich, who've made some strange decisions with managers, even Bayern decided that this was just nuts, and that was their Solskjaer, if you like. But no, you're absolutely right, James. I mean, I'd love Ollie to win us the title, of course, but ultimately I want the best person in charge of the club, and I don't think he is that person.
Can I,
John, let me just ask. Go on.
I was just going to say that I do think we've moved away from it slightly. I think there is a lot of onus on Phelan when he came in, and obviously Carrick. But I think is it Cochran, the young lad the young coach who joined us from the England setup. Ramsey's another one. Even McKenna in some extent. We have started to follow that Bayern model where we bring in really good young coaches, British coaches, to so to speak, work their way up. But they've gone in at the bottom of the funnel. Like they're not ready to be up there yet with a more experienced manager. And the issue we've got, I think, also comes back full circle here, James, from what you mentioned earlier on, and I hit on slightly in terms of even Ollie should be at the bottom of that funnel initially and working himself. He'd never done that. And it almost feels like we haven't quite got a grip on things in terms of what our structure actually is, from transfer policy to playing style to managers to coaches. For example, I don't think Conte's the man to take us forward. But if he is, he's bringing in 8 new coaches with him, and that disrupts everything that's been worked on in the last 3 years. Same with Zidane. It disrupts everything. So then, for instance, if we do go with a Ten Hag or someone of similar ilk, so to speak, do they come in with 1 or 2? Or do they come in with a whole new coaching setup? Then who stays? Who goes? It's such a hard thing. And you've just seen Phelan get a new contract. Ollie's just got a new contract. And I think if we flip time round on decision-making, John, I think you're spot on with this as well. with the way that Ollie's been at United, I remember when he got the job. Do you remember when he officially got the job? So he'd gone through his as interim, and he got the job when he did. I remember coming on that stream straight afterwards and going, "Lovely idea of Ollie manager. We've made that decision way too prematurely."
Yeah,
that's not me looking back now, going, "Oh, we got it wrong."
No.
We just made that decision way too prematurely. I think by the end of the season, probably could have justified the decision. But when we made it, wrong. Again, if we go back to, was it last season or the season before, when we had that tough spell and then we beat Leeds? We absolutely smashed Leeds at home. And that was like a slight turning point. And even then, 4 or 5 games forward, we were going, I think by Leeds, he'll be sacked. And again, it's not pulling these triggers that potentially push you on, because in the end, the downfall did come later on after getting a new contract. Again, poor decision-making at poor times. So I wonder, and this is why I have no faith in Ollie going next week. I don't think we've got the right people at the club to make decisions on what is actually right from a footballing sense, from a fan sense, from a club perspective. And that's my issue here. Does that mean that I am going to be having an Ollie out banner for our game against Spurs on Saturday? No. Am I going into that game on Saturday thinking, God, you know what? Nice big win here against Spurs. Turn our luck around. Fucking hell yeah, I will be. Because I'm not going to sit there and go, I hope we lose so Ollie leaves. Ultimately, we need to find a balance between the two. But everyone is spot on with their criticism. You cannot get away with what happened yesterday. And if the right footballing people were at the club, that decision would be made tonight. It wouldn't even get to tomorrow morning. That decision would be made tonight. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And actually, Waz is right here. Sorry, with what he's just put there, it is about standards. United Analytics, put in the chat, it is about standards. I completely agree with that. 100%. It is about standards across the board.
Sorry, I've just clicked that by mistake.
Over.
I don't know where
listen,
to go from that.
Listen, Chelsea, just under a year ago, went to, they lost at home, I think, to Man City 3-0 maybe. And they decided to get rid of the manager. Lampard, kind of similar with us and SOLSKJAER. They'd seen 15, 16 months with Lampard and had seen that the romantic choice was just the wrong one. And again, just like Liverpool did a few years ago when Klopp was available, they saw that Tuchel was available, didn't think he'd be available for that long. And by the way, how crazy was that for PSG to get rid? I mean, listen, I'm not a crazy Tuchel fan, especially in terms of the style of play, despite their 7-0 win yesterday. They were playing Norwich. But they took the decision, and a few months later they won the Champions League. And you could see with Chelsea that there were some tools there, okay, and they weren't being used correctly, if you like. And you can see the same at United. I mean, on our day, despite this crazy result, and this is probably the wrong time, perhaps, and even the wrong place to say this, but on our day, I think we could beat almost any team in Europe, which means with the players at our disposal, which means that it's not the craziest thing that we change the manager and we go and win a trophy, and why not the Champions League? I mean, we're now in a decent position to qualify. I mean, but that's just not going to happen under SOLSKJAER. But yeah, I mean, I'm coming back to the point that I think we've kind of all agreed on as well, that we don't have any faith in the people upstairs, because for 8 years they've been taking decisions and they've been taking the wrong ones. And most people in the upper echelons of football, or certainly coaching anyway, if you take wrong decisions constantly for 8 years, well, you don't get 8 years, you get 12, 18 months at best as a coach. But of course, Ollie's been a great buffer in a way for them. Because he's the sort of romantic choice, and we're not going to have a go at him necessarily as quickly. And because with Mourinho, in a way, Mourinho was actually an extension of the image of the Glazers to some, in a very abstract, perhaps kind of way. It was just he was the Glazers are bad and Mourinho's bad, and Mourinho's bad and the Glazers are bad. But with Ole, when that decision, and even the purchase, of course, of Ronaldo this summer, it's sort of given them a little bit of, I don't know, leeway or whatever. But
John, really quick points on that before Carpet wraps up.
Sure.
One is, if we remember to Mourinho as well, shit was going down November. I think was when him and Pogba had that argument. The stuff was coming out about Luke Shaw, and we still don't know how bad that actually was, by the way. And obviously, things got really sour under Mourinho, and it took to the February, wasn't it? Like
December.
December,
he was sacked.
I think it's the start. So it took 2 months of that getting horrendous under Mourinho. It dragged on.
It did drag on, yeah.
Far too long. We even started the season poorly, if I remember right.
There was a match against Newcastle, Ben, that season, about 6 weeks before, 8 weeks before,
saved him.
Yeah,
where everybody said he's getting fired if he loses this, and we went 1-0 down, by the way, and I think we might have even gone 2-0 down.
We won 4-1, didn't we?
No, I think we won
3-2.
3-2, and I think Sanchez might even have got the winner. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's
I remember now.
That 2 month period, you're right. In fact, it dragged on really from the moment we lost 3-0 home to Spurs in the August. So you could even say probably 4 months from that match against Spurs that we lost 3-0 to him finally losing the job 4 months later.
I was going to say the thing with the Chelsea comparison. So that's an example of it dragging on way too much for it to get too toxic, and that started somewhere, right? As you said, that started. You could even go back to the Spurs away, and we could just see the downhill trajectory. Then there's a bump here, a bump there in terms of an uplift. And you hold on to some hope, but then you just leave it way too long, gets toxic. I used to be a massive Mourinho fan. I can't stand him now. Like, that's ruined him for me in so many different ways. I then moved to Frank Lampard at Chelsea. Although I don't like the Chelsea model, what Frank went in there and done has set Tuchel up for as long as he wants that job, because of the work that Frank Lampard did. So actually, the Chelsea model could be about to completely change from what it was because of the work Lampard done. And I think in hindsight, Chelsea actually pulled the trigger at a really good time for Frank, because his reputation as a manager, but also as a club legend, hasn't been completely tarnished. Players still speak very highly of him. And actually, the players now that are really excelling under Tuchel were Frank Lampard born players, Frank Lampard players that he moulded in that squad. The likes of the likes obviously of Mason Mount, the likes of Reece James, also Christensen coming through. They're players who actually started to excel under Frank Lampard. The issue we've got, leave this going on with Oddy too much, and it will start to get more and more toxic. And then the players start to get their heads even further down, and then it gets to a point where there's no season to save. And that's my issue here, is that you've got to strike that balance right, because you're not just messing with a Mourinho or any other manager. You're messing with a legend, a cult hero for so many people in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I don't want to see him like I've just seen him on that touchline today, like I saw him walking towards that Stretford end. I don't want to see that again, because that was heartbreaking. That was absolutely heartbreaking, and should be heartbreaking. Any Manchester United fan that watched that clip, it's on Football Daily now. We can retweet it again from All for United. Any Manchester United fan that can watch that clip and go, "Ha, Ollie out, yeah, now it is. Here we go." I'm sorry, but I really question how much of a fan you actually are.
I question how much of a person.
Yeah, 100%. Watch that clip without feeling emotionally attached to what's going on right now. You won't be able to. It's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
We need to end on a joke, Harvick. Otherwise, it's not uncut, is it?
Well, I was just about to say, John, it's not usually like this. No, I think today had to be a more serious one. If it was the day after, I might have been able to lighten it up a little bit.
I have finished my popcorn.
I think today had to be this, and I'm going to wrap it up.
Chocolate's done too.
I'm going to wrap it up soon. If my lag allows me to do it, I will. I'm just going to go through it because I can't be asked to stop starting. I'll say my 2 cents. I think it is time up. I don't think you can lose 5-0 to Liverpool and get away with it. I think no matter what happens in the next few days, we will know what's going to happen. If he stays in the job, we've got to expect a couple more weeks of this, unfortunately. If he gets sacked, then it gets interesting. What happens next? There'll be loads of discussion. I'm sure we'll go live ourselves with our predictions of who's going to come in. And I think regardless of what that decision is, look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done a good job. Whether you think that or not, he's done a good job. He's rebuilt the culture of the club. He's rebuilt the academy to have some hope, and he's rebuilt the squad, and he's got it to a level where it should be competing. It's not, but it should. In 5 years, when another manager comes in, or has come in, and they go and win a league, they go and win a Champions League, maybe they go and win a treble, we will look back at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign and say that was down to him. He did that. He set us up. just like Thomas Tuchel and Frank Lampard, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer set this up. And I think that will happen more in hindsight. But for that to happen, they've got to pull the trigger now. Because if it goes on too long, then it'll be more of a negative look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So that's what I think. I think it wouldn't be out of the realms of reality for him to go tomorrow. I think it could well happen, but it also couldn't happen because the board are inept and they may go and pick the wrong person to come in and take us over next. But I don't know where we go from here, and I don't think any United fan does. And losing to Liverpool, like Callum said, it's got even the most positive of United fans down. Losing to Liverpool in any game is hard for me to watch because, look, I despise the people. I just despise them. I lose all sense and patience. But losing 5-0 is just something ridiculous. And at halftime, I was sat there and I was just thinking, this can't carry on. I've made excuse after excuse after excuse. I've defended Ole Gunnar Solskjaer so many times, but I can't defend what I saw today. It has to change. Whether it will change or not, we'll see. And just look at the panel. None of us are happy that this is happening. We all wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to go and succeed this season. Maybe we were silly for thinking that he would. Maybe, but I don't think we can back it anymore. But we also don't back this club and the people who makes its decisions to go and make it a correct one. And that's why this show had to be a more serious one. That's why it's not as much of a laugh as it usually is, because none of us are able to laugh at this moment. And I've not even made a Phil Jones in the 6 joke. So that should tell you just how serious we're taking this. But
how did you get that in?
Karthik, after today you should be talking about Karthik, after today you should be talking about Phil Jones in the 4.
Well, I did see a tweet saying that he should come in. Anyway, let's just wrap this up. I want to go to bed. Cheers for watching it. Cheers for watching, everyone. Alfie and I Uncut is not usually this depressing. Please leave a like if you're feeling like shit. Let's make each other feel happier. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. Stay tuned because we could go live at any moment depending on what happens in the next 24 hours. And I'm sorry to have to say, and this probably sums up just how we're feeling at the moment. Manchester United will not win the league. I'll say that.